Alrighty, guys, let's talk about something that almost every business owner is doing right now, but very few are actually doing well. We're going live today because if you've ever posted content hoping that it would do something like bring leads, maybe grow your business, create that momentum that we were looking for, but if it's just kind of like sitting there, this conversation is going to shift how you see everything. And hopefully we're going to get you to come and join us at Skill with Stability. Skill with Stability, we believe that growth should actually support your life, not compete with it. Your business should be built on systems, stewardship, purpose, not constant guessing, burning out, and chasing attention. And that's exactly why I'm really excited about today's conversation with you, Scott, because content shouldn't just be about getting views. It should be the thing that's creating that movement in your business. And if you cannot tell, I'm joined today by Scott Simson. Scott, you're the CEO of Rapidity Media, whose team, you generated billions of views for clients across industries, from local businesses to influencers and probably anything in between. Your session at Skill with Stability, it's called the YouTube Lead Funnel, Turn Views into Customers. How are you doing today, Scott?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me on your live stream. This is great.
I know, I'm really excited. This has been super fun. First, to like get insights into everybody's session, but then also just get to learn more. Everybody's so knowledgeable. It's so hard. This is the hardest job, to interview everybody and know that I cannot be in every session at Skill with Stability where we're hosting the event. But I know that, and the goal for everybody that's watching is for you to understand more about what's happening, what's going to happen. What is the one thing that if you pick this session, this could be the ROI that you need for you to attend the event. And Scott, your session, focus on YouTube. Let's go into it, because I have so many questions. And actually, before we go into it, do you mind just sharing, like, how do you end up doing YouTube? Like, how do you end up in this world of YouTube and sharing with people this formula that you've worked on?
Yeah, so my wife and I wrote 2 books in 2010 and 2011. They're called Fox in the Mountain. One was a children's book, and then we converted into a book for teenagers and adults as well. And I was traveling around, going to like different Rotary clubs and chambers of commerce, doing speaking engagements, getting in front of audience to talk about our book. And then in 2014, my wife got pregnant with our son. And she's like, I need you to be home. It's a good thing for a guy to be home for their wife when they're pregnant. And I was like, okay, so if I'm not traveling and talking to audiences, how do I talk to people? How do I talk to people online? And that's when we really started taking YouTube seriously, was in 2014. And we built up a YouTube channel to about almost 350,000 subscribers. We were full-time YouTubers from 2017 to 2019, meaning YouTube paid our bills. And then there was an algorithm shift in 2019, and our revenue from YouTube dropped significantly. And I'm like, well, we can either try to push our way through this, or we can change. And we've been on the platform for 5 years at that point. And I was like, let's change. Let's start impacting business lives like we used to, back when I was traveling around talking about our books. And so we created Rapidity Media in 2019, and it's been 6 years of 7 years of awesome growth, and in impact. We work with great business owners, and our whole our entire business is built around done for you YouTube for business owners and enterprises. So it's been a great journey so far.
Well, I'm really excited. I feel like this is one of those things that content in general can be a little bit daunting, right, for business owners, but YouTube specifically, I think it's like the next level, right? Like anybody can post, but can everybody really create a strategy in YouTube? So I have so many questions for you, and hopefully this will help our attendees, to like pick the session if this is something that they really should be focusing on this year in their business. And then for anybody that, is watching us in replay or live, for them to learn more about why this strategy could be really helpful. Now, you've mentioned in the past that YouTube is the hero platform. What makes this platform different from everything else that we're using today?
So if you look at every other social media platform outside of YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they're timeline oriented. They have some search capabilities, but for the most part, you go to the platform, you look at what's on your wall, and then you start scrolling until you find something you want to engage with, and you engage with it. But the next day, if you want to go back and find something you engaged with, or find something that you liked, or find something to share, like it's hard to find it because that timeline has moved. Whereas with YouTube, it's more search oriented. And so your videos that you post today can live on for years. My highest viewed video has 32 million views. I posted it 11 years ago, and it still gets views every single day to this day. You don't get that on Facebook. You don't get that on Instagram or TikTok. You don't get views on content that's 10 years old outside of YouTube. And that's why YouTube is so powerful for business owners, because if you post something today that drives leads to your business and YouTube continues to fuel it, you'll get leads forever. Well, I mean, for as long as YouTube operates the way that it does. But my point is like, it's a much longer time frame. Your videos live much longer for much longer time frame than on Facebook or any of the other socials.
This is crazy. I feel like, every business owner should be aware of this. And we have heard this in the past, but somehow we tend to forget. And then we continue to go back into this like strategies of just posting content in one platform. And we think that this is going to help us grow our business. So I'm curious of you have talked to like hundreds of people about this topic specifically. You're hosting your event as well. You started last year. So you're like actively helping people navigate this topic. What do you think it's broken about how people are typically approaching YouTube right now?
I think that there's like a misconception of what moves the needle on YouTube. And I hear a lot of people who, I just the other day, I had a call with a prospect, and we were looking at his YouTube channel, and every single thumbnail was exactly the same. And every title started with an episode number. And I'm like, if you want to be successful on YouTube, you have half of a second to attract their attention with the title and thumbnail to give them an idea of what value they're going to receive from this video. And that could be entertainment, education, enlightenment, right? But if they can't figure out what they're going to get from that video in half a second, they're going to scroll on. And this is the biggest problem that I see most business owners have when it comes to YouTube. They use YouTube as kind of a repository of all of their stuff, or like free cloud services for their videos without any optimization. And if they just kind of flip that optimization switch, they would see dramatic growth in a relatively short period of time, because YouTube is always looking for content to feed to audiences, because audiences want new content. It's not just a how-to platform anymore. It's like people want to go there to be entertained, to be engaged. And so I think that one of the biggest issues that I see is that people just don't know how to optimize their content for views, for leads.
Well, if that is the case, then Scale Stability is literally the place to go, because you're focusing exactly on this, which I'm really excited about. As you're talking, I'm like, let me make a mental note to like reach out to Scott and like talk about my own YouTube, because it's literally, it happens for everybody, right? Like, I think the one thing that we mistake as business owners is that we think that we have to be the experts at everything. And if I'm not going to be an expert at this, then I am not going to even try, right? The opportunity that we have as business owners is to understand that there's a reason why I'm able to offer my services to somebody else, right? Like because nobody should be the expert at everything. And I love that you're taking the time to come and share, obviously, but then also to just have people learn more about what you do. I'm curious, obviously like that's a big problem, what you just shared. What's the mindset shift that somebody needs to make to start treating content, like a generation tool? Because you're talking about looking at it from the perspective of like, this should be generating you something, right? If you're turning views into customers, there is that mindset shift that instead of just putting content to put it, there is a strategy. So like, what do you think is the biggest mindset shift that these business owners are having to make as they're working with you in your business?
I think that it's There's a couple of things. I think number one, it's that anybody can do it. There's a lot of like nuanced things with YouTube that I think scare people. And so they tend to like push away from that or avoid doing things because they don't want to do them wrong. And what's kind of cool about YouTube is like nobody's really watching your first 30 or 50 videos anyway. And so you have a lot of room for improvement during that time. You can commit to like 1% better. And by the time you get to video 30 or 40, I mean, I would even say like 20, right? 20 videos is enough for you to like really kind of get into the habit of like how to create content that's effective. The other thing though, that I think that's like really awesome about right now in 2026 is like AI can absorb a lot of the things that are hard for people with YouTube. Like creating a really good script has become very easy now. And if you, to keep people on your platform and to engage them well requires really good speaking. Like if you could just be off the top of your head and you can just engage an audience naturally, then you can grow a YouTube channel relatively quickly. But if you can't do that, you can script stuff now that used to take people. I don't write very well. I don't write scripts very well. And so scripting was always kind of like something I avoided. And now everything that I do is scripted and I read it off of a teleprompter. And I got really good at the teleprompter. I mean, you can't even tell I'm reading off a teleprompter right now.
Whole conversation is a teleprompter.
But my point is like, there's so much you can do with AI that will simplify and cut down the learning curve with YouTube. And that's what a lot of our clients are learning.
I love that. Do you feel like there's one thing that most people are missing the mark when they're trying to turn like viewers into actual leads as you're like guiding them in that process? And what would that be?
Yeah, it's YouTube should not be used as a digital billboard. Like it shouldn't be used as like an advertising platform. You never want to go build a community of people and they'd be like, all right, you guys, all my services 50% off, call 800-999. Like you don't want to do that in your content. A lot of people who are kind of fresh to the platform think that's how you convert, but it's not. It's a repetition game, right? If you get somebody to come back to your content over and over and over again, those leads naturally warm up to the point where when you have some passive CTA that's like, hey, you guys, one of the things that we do is we manage YouTube channels. And if you're interested, if you're a business owner who's interested in that, click link down in the description below. Let's see if it's a good fit. Whether or not you take it, that's completely up to you. I just want to make sure you know that's what I do. That's a very passive CTA that works very well once you have somebody warmed up who's watched 10 or 12 of your videos. And because they've spent all that time with you, they've spent hours with you. And then at that point, the perception is that you're kind of famous, which is like, it's weird. I'm 41. I don't care about like the fame aspect of it. But there is that approach where people who watch you on a screen, watch you on their televisions, watch you on their phones, they look at you as larger than life and famous. And that can actually be something that you can use to convert more people into your offers. But I think the big thing here is like just making sure that you're not using YouTube as just like a place to shout out your products. It's to build relationships. And then those relationships naturally convert as they warm up and as those people need your services.
I love that you can tell that you have been doing YouTube because that CTA came like so natural to you. Like if you want it, like just you're like so natural.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I film every day.
Yeah, right. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. I'm curious for business owners, and let's just think about the example of a home service, because I know that for every industry there might be something different. But how should somebody think about video topics specifically? Right, we're going into the strategy a little bit. Thinking about video topics if their goal is lead generation. What type of content should they be generating to convert people into customers?
So I'm actually gonna start this with what not to do, with what everybody thinks they should do, which is as a home services business, a how-to video. If you do a how-to video as a home services business, you'll get a lot of views, but they'll be what we call one and done viewers. They're like, oh, cool, you helped me learn how to hang a picture on my wall. Oh, cool, you helped me learn how to fix a leak in my pipes. We had a client, the Twin Home Experts, and this is one of our awesome case studies in the home services industry. And the twins, they have a plumbing company in Los Angeles, and they came to me and they're like, "Hey, we want you to help us fix this. We want to blow up this YouTube channel." I looked at their channel, and almost every single video was a how-to video. And I'm like, "Oh, I see what the problem is. Like, you're not getting anybody to come back because you're always solving problems." And so what we did, and here's the what to do in the home services business. What we did was we had them strap GoPros to their chests and go into houses and fix problems, and they'd film 2 hours of content that then we would turn into a story. And what was awesome about that is that they would show how to fix the leaks. They would show how to find the leaks. They'd show how to hang the pictures or change, remodel a bathroom. And they would show all that in the videos, but we would never title it that way. And what happened was they went from 13,000 subscribers to 100,000 subscribers in about 8 months. And now I think they're at close to 600,000, maybe 657. I don't know, somewhere in there. And they're exploding. But it wasn't because they did how-to content. It was because they told stories and built a community of people who wanted to watch the stories. And then they started getting calls like crazy from all over the United States from people who only want to work with them. And that's how I approach things for home services. Like, you're meeting unique people all day, every day. You have unique stories that you can capitalize on all day, every day. And there's an audience for that. Otherwise, HGTV and the DIY channel wouldn't be around. It's like people want to see that. Tap into that audience.
I love that. I mean, the perspective of a customer would be, how can I trust this person? How can I know that this is a right, home service contractor that I can work with? And by you showing them, how would that experience be if I were the customer? I think like that's making it a lot quicker, like that makes so much sense, but I wouldn't have thought that. I actually would have thought that the response was like how-to videos, because then you would show them how to do that. But I love, you just like completely convinced me now. So I'm like, okay, this is great. Now you've worked across so many industries, right? Home service is one example. You mentioned like influencers, everything in between. What's one example of something that you have done or that, strategy that surprised you where this worked really well?
Actually, one that really stands out is we were very early to adopt AI imagery into thumbnail design, like very early, like right when Midjourney came out. I was like, oh, we can use this to make something look real that draws a ton of curiosity that gets people to click on thumbnails. And we blew up a YouTube channel. I can't name the name because we've got NDAs, but we blew up a YouTube channel using this strategy where we would go to Midjourney and my prompt would be let's see, it would be like man from the 1890s levitating in a room. And it would just be like old photograph style, worn old photograph style. And it would just be this guy in the middle of this empty room, just like this, like floating. And we would just bait the clicks because it looked real. And people are like, oh my gosh, is this real? And then you get into the video and they would learn the lesson behind it. But that was probably one of the coolest strategies that we have used. Now it's all changed because everybody does that now, but it was kind of cool, like when we were the originals to do that.
That's crazy. I'll invite somebody coffee if you can name the industry that he was talking about. Like, what do you even do? Like, that would be crazy. Let's think about, some of the attendees that we're going to have are local business owners, right? Like a lot of people from like different states close to Arkansas, from Arkansas even. How would a local business owner apply this differently than, let's say, a coach or an influencer? What has been the main differences you can see in applying your strategy based on these industries?
Yeah. So actually one of the best examples, and this wasn't a client of ours, but we've used this strategy a lot on a number of our clients. Dr. Gregory Johnson in Houston, has a YouTube channel called I think it's Houston Chiropractic or something like that. So if you searched Houston Chiropractor in Google, his videos, because YouTube and Google are owned by the same company, Alphabet, his videos would pull up above where people spend money to have their ads placed. So he was pulling up on YouTube for Houston Chiropractor because his content was optimized for both YouTube and Google. So from a local business based perspective, like just having your name or your city and what you do, Dallas Realtor gives you an increased likelihood of people finding you on Google. And not only that, but I mean, just like having your city or your locality in all of your titles in some form or fashion, not taking away from the clickability, not taking away from the curiosity, that also increases the likelihood of clickability and optimization from YouTube to people who are in that locality. The other thing though that I want to mention that like I don't want people to discount, because there's a lot of like local folks who are like, well, but I don't want a worldwide audience. I'm like, okay, cool. But if you woke up tomorrow and you had 1 million views from all over the world, what could you sell to those people that would grow your business? And then that starts getting them to think outside of the little box they've put themselves in. And so we talk to all of our local based businesses about this as well. It's like, okay, when your channel blows up, what are you going to sell them? And a lot of it's like coaching or consulting. We had an orthodontist, a local orthodontist, who was taking phone calls from all over the world, giving dental advice to people, or his thoughts on their x-rays and things like that, and get a second opinion from him. And he was charging like $500 for a 15-minute call. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a really cool, unique experience. So you can get local audience, you can grab local attention, but you should also be thinking like, okay, if I get 1 million people from Canada who watch my content, how can I serve them as well?
That is, we were talking in one of our masterminds about like a person in there that had enough leads for their work. And somebody made this analogy of like not wanting to show up, on social media in like, for example, like this scenario that you're doing, like worldwide, right? Like to get this like huge brand because you're a local business. It's like saying that, you don't want to like meet people because you're already dating somebody, right? And like, yeah, like maybe that's going to be long-term, maybe not, so like, why would you close yourself to like meeting other people, like just engaging in general, right? And so it's very similar to that. I think like, I love the approach that you're taking, because at the end of the day, I see a lot of business owners that eventually end up being burned out because they didn't have any other way to generate income for their families but this, right? And they have like just include, and maybe they're not even enjoying it anymore. What if like you can open yourself up to like other ideas and delegate and grow your business? There's so many opportunities there. Now, I would assume that you also run into people that feel like this wouldn't work for my business, right? Like this is one example of that, but I'm sure there's other objections that you're constantly running into as they're like thinking, oh, like this wouldn't work for my business for XYZ. What would you say to them? And what are some of the things that you run into? Like, what are some of the objections that you get from business owners when they're like, I'm good. Like, I don't need to show up for the world because I'm good with my current client list. That's one. What are other objections that you have run into, and what do you say to them?
Yeah. So every business is built around solving someone else's problems. That's why we do an exchange of, monetary gain for some type of problem, a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
And I have yet to find an industry or work with an industry that didn't have something interesting to say, or something interesting that's nuanced that's going on in that specific community. And so there's always a way to create a content strategy around every single industry. It's just a matter of what are the problems that you're facing? What are the frequently asked questions of your ideal client? And then how can you create content in the most interesting and engaging way to attract that ideal customer avatar? And we just haven't run into anything that's like, Oh yeah, that's really uninteresting, and nobody in the world is going to care about it because you wouldn't be in business if that were the case. And so yeah, anytime that I say that, I just challenge them. I challenge them on that thought process, asking those questions. What are the problems you're solving? And then I'll actually, a lot of times, I'll just go out and I'll find what their audience is interested in and looking for, and present to them kind of interesting video ideas that they could create in their field. And generally, it works.
As we're talking about this, I'm sure that if somebody's watching, they're like, okay, like that sounds amazing. I'm like, I bought in because, Scott just like made all this like amazing points, on why I should be on YouTube, but
Sure.
they're still feeling overwhelmed. Where would you
Mhm.
say, or what would your advice be for them? Where should they start? Like where can they start today to just get into this, I think it's a process, right? For every business owner of like, how do I continue to grow my business? It is kind of like, what are you willing to do for the sake of
Yeah.
what, and how long are you able to withstand, your current situation, in your business, and like how fast do you want to get to your ideal goal scenario, right? So if somebody's feeling overwhelmed, by content right now and these strategies, where should they start?
I think that first I'd have to assess like where the what's like the origin of the overwhelm, the feeling of overwhelm. And a lot of times it's like, well, I don't know what to do. Okay, cool. Well, just take the first step. Just record a video on your phone. Like, don't give yourself a lot of friction, because the more friction you give, the more overwhelmed you're going to feel, and the more reasons and excuses you're going to give yourself to not take action. And so, reduce that friction. Hold your phone up and press record and talk about uh, a problem that you have the solution to, that your customer wants an answer for. And that's where I would start. And then I would just not even think about it, press upload. Again, very few people are going to watch that first video. And so what does it matter? Right? It's like just get into the habit of creating content every day. And if YouTube is too overwhelming, get into the habit of posting Instagram reels. Like, you can post Instagram reels in a matter of a couple of minutes, and then you're going to start to build up the confidence and courage and the skill of learning how to shoot content that's like punchy and effective. And you can do it on a platform outside of YouTube. Then once you get into the routine of creating content and a flow, then you can start moving over into long form content on YouTube. But I would say, like, just the act of getting started and giving yourself permission to use a phone is probably the thing that holds most people back. Is it like they overcomplicate what they need to do before they even take a step? And so in their mind, they're like, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to get the right camera and the right setup and have the right lighting, and I can't have noise in the background. And then they'll press record, and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to do it. And they'll press record, and they'll be like, that didn't sound good. I got to do it 50 more times until it sounds good. And then in their brain, it's like, man, I don't have time to film these. When in reality, you could have done it in 5 minutes as opposed to 3 hours that it took you to create, the same video 50 times. So I think it's just like, get out of your own way and just start creating content. The faster you take that first step, the easier subsequent steps are going to be.
Now, I know that obviously, in your session, you're going to be helping not only for people, not only to understand, all this like concepts and why they should be doing this, and like have that inside perspective and view of like what you're seeing every day for these business owners that are actively investing their time and efforts into creating, content and growing through YouTube, and the benefits, that they're getting from that investment. But you're also like very interactive, like workshop piece style. So I'm really excited about that session. When somebody leaves this session at Scale with Stability, what do you feel, or what do you envision that they will be able to do that they couldn't do before?
So I'm going to actually give them a custom GPT that we use to create a series of videos. In fact, I might give them a couple of our custom GPTs, because uh, I want to make sure that when they leave, they've got tools in hand that they can kind of like reduce the learning curve. So I've got some AI tools that I've built that are really, really good, that we're going to be giving away. And I think the expectation at the end of my session is just going to be like a feeling of empowerment, and then also a game plan for where to start. And so I'm gonna be teaching we called the Netflix docu-series strategy for YouTube. Basically, it's a 5-part series of videos that are designed to attract attention, educate, and then build trust. So that way, by the 5th video, people are like, "I want to buy." And I'm going to be teaching. How to create that strategy and give them the tools so they can go do it themselves.
I honestly, I cannot wait for the session. I think it's going to be really great. It's making everybody's life so difficult, having such amazing speakers, and talented entrepreneurs that are coming and literally showing everything, the formula of how they're helping businesses grow. And I think your specific angle on strategies for growth is going to be super impactful for everybody. If we have somebody that's watching this today and that is still hesitant about coming to Scale with Stability, April 22nd to the 24th, Scott, what would you say to them about coming to the event?
I think the thing is, like, you have to. Here's what I've been telling everybody over the last year, probably even 18 months, is like, there's an AI wave that's coming, and people are already feeling it. And it's events like this where you get to engage with people, learn strategies, and start to employ things that will help you build a moat around the change and the transition that's happening in the global economy. And if you want to stay ahead of this and like get on your surfboard and surf that wave as opposed to be clobbered by it, this is what you need to be. You got to be going to events like this. This is what you need to be doing, because it's where you're going to learn from people who are excelling and who are already riding the wave, who are just like, hey, get up on your board, man, and pull you up so that we can ride next to them. And that's why I think that it's important for people to go to events like this.
I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time. First off, I know you're busy. You're a father. You're a spouse. You have things going on, events and business happening all the time. I really appreciate you taking the time to invest your time, your efforts, your energy in helping business owners grow. And you heard it, guys. Come to Scale with Stability. Connect with Scott Simson. I know that he's actively posting on Facebook. You can not only find him on YouTube, but YouTube's definitely a great place for you to find him. And really take that leap into what could 2026 look like for you in your business if you just implement one more thing in your business, right? Like if you focus on one strategy that you haven't done before and you really give it your all, where could that lead you? Thank you so much, Scott, and I cannot wait to see everybody very soon. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.